Have you ever really stopped to think about what's inside a single pellet of chicken feed? It's easy to overlook, but today we're going to pull back the curtain. We're going inside the modern feed mill to see how it acts as a silent guardian, fighting a microscopic war to keep poultry healthy and, well, our food supply safe.
Okay, so it all starts right here, in the gut. For a chicken, everything. Its growth, its well-being, its overall health, it's all tied directly to what's happening inside its intestinal tract. You know, a happy gut is basically the foundation for a healthy bird. Simple as that.
But here's the thing. That foundation is under constant attack from a nasty disease called necrotic enteritis. Honestly, it's one of the biggest, most expensive problems in the entire poultry industry. It's a huge blow to animal welfare, and it costs a fortune. This is the enemy we're here to understand today.
So, here's our game plan for this explainer. First, we'll dig into this gut-wrenching problem. Then, we'll look at the recipe for disaster, what helps it thrive. After that, we'll get into the feed mill's 4-pillar defense strategy, dive deep into the science of smart feed, and finally, we'll put all the pieces together into a blueprint for a healthy flock.
All right, first up, let's really get to grips with this gut-wrenching problem and figure out what makes necrotic enteritis so darn destructive. So meet the villain of our story, Clostridium perfringens. Now here's the interesting part. This bacteria is actually a normal resident in a healthy gut. It's supposed to be there, but only in small numbers. The problem isn't that it exists. The problem is when it gets out of control and starts to multiply, producing these powerful toxins that just wreak havoc on the intestinal lining.
And what's wild is that this disease basically has two different personalities. You've got the clinical form, which is sudden, obvious, and incredibly deadly. But then you have the subclinical form, and this one's the silent thief. The birds don't look sick at all, but they're not growing properly, they're not converting feed efficiently, and it just quietly drains profits.
This diagram, it shows the whole vicious cycle perfectly. See, it all starts with the C. perfringens just hanging out in the gut. But then look at step 2. That's the key, that's the trigger. Some other factor, a predisposing factor, throws the gut off balance. That gives the bacteria the green light to multiply and produce toxins, as you see in steps 4 and 5. And boom, step 6, you've got the full-blown disease. The big takeaway here is that this bacteria almost never acts alone. It needs an accomplice.
So that leads us to the next logical question, right? If Clostridium needs help, who are its accomplices? What are the ingredients that create this perfect storm for an outbreak?
And wow, the list of accomplices is pretty long. It's a real mix of things. You've got nutritional factors like certain fibers or too much protein. You have feed quality issues like fats that have gone bad or mycotoxins. And you even have other diseases like coccidiosis. Literally, any one of these can be the trigger that tips the scales in the gut.
Let's focus in on one of the biggest nutritional accomplices, something I like to call the viscosity trap.
Okay, so certain grains like wheat and barley have these specific kinds of soluble fibers. They're called non-starch polysaccharides, or NSPs for short. When these NSPs get into the gut and mix with water, they form this thick, gooey gel-like substance. And that gel basically slows the whole digestive system down to a crawl, trapping all those valuable nutrients.
And guess what loves a slow-moving, nutrient-rich sludge? Yep, Clostridium perfringens. It becomes a 5-star all-you-can-eat buffet for them. They feast on all those trapped nutrients, they multiply like crazy, and then they start pumping out those toxins. It's a classic downward spiral.
Now, another huge accomplice is a parasitic disease called coccidiosis. As you can see here, it causes real physical damage to the intestinal wall. This damage makes protein leak from the bird's own tissues right into the gut, creating yet another buffet that fuels the explosive growth of Clostridium. It's like leaving the front door wide open for them.
So, we've seen the problem and its partners in crime. How in the world do we fight back? Well, the front line of this whole battle is the modern feed mill, and its strategy is built on 4 crucial pillars.
This is where prevention really starts. Long before any feed gets to the farm, a massive strategy is already in motion right here inside these walls. It's all about designing a diet that builds health from the inside out, getting way ahead of the problem.
This whole defense strategy rests on these 4 pillars. Pillar 1, strict quality control. Testing every single ingredient before it even gets in the door. Pillar 2 is strategic formulation. This is designing the recipe itself to promote a healthy gut. Pillar 3, optimized processing. How the feed is physically made actually matters a lot. And finally,
Pillar 4 is making sure that perfect feed is stored and delivered to the farm without any issues. Every single step is critical.
Now let's zoom in on Pillar 2, strategic formulation, because honestly, this is where some of the coolest science is happening. We're going to take a peek inside the nutritional arsenal.
See, we're way beyond just basic nutrition now. Feed formulators have this incredible arsenal of tools at their disposal. These are called functional additives, and they aren't just for growth. They are specifically designed to manage the gut environment, to support the immune system, and to actively fight off the bad guys. So remember our viscosity problem? Here's what it looks like. When a bird eats a standard feed, those NSPs are released. That thick gel forms and the nutrients get locked away. The bird just can't access the energy in its own food, so its performance drops.
But what happens when we add enzymes? Well, they act like tiny molecular scissors. As you can see here, the enzymes just chop up that NSP structure. The gel disappears, the nutrients are set free, and the bird can absorb all that good energy. It is such an elegant solution to a really complex problem.
Now, I know this diagram looks a little busy, but the main takeaway here is precision. This is not a one-size-fits-all solution. We have very specific enzymes for very specific jobs. For example, an enzyme called xylanase is the key that unlocks those tough fibers we just talked about. Meanwhile, another enzyme, phytase, is a totally different key that unlocks the mineral phosphorus. It's a full toolkit, designed to get every last drop of nutrition out of the feed.
Another really powerful strategy is to manage the gut bacteria directly. We can use probiotics to add more beneficial bacteria, the good guys, who can then outcompete pathogens like Clostridium. And then we can add prebiotics, which are basically food for those good guys, helping them grow strong. It's all about building a bigger, stronger internal army to defend the gut.
So, let's bring this all together. From checking every ingredient at the door to using these advanced additives, the feed mill is creating this incredible multi-layered defense system. It's a proactive blueprint for health, not just a reactive treatment for sickness.
And that leaves us with a pretty fascinating thought, doesn't it? By turning a simple feed pellet into a high-tech delivery system for health, we're completely shifting the focus from treatment to prevention. It really makes you wonder if the future of animal wellness is found less in a syringe and more in the science we feed.